Hi Hammers fans, quick reminder, drop a like, hit subscribe, and leave your comment below. That way you'll always be the first to catch every update about West Ham United. West Ham fans, the off-field drama continues. And this time the name at the center of the discussion is a familiar one, David Moyes. The Scottish manager who led the club through two remarkable spells is back in the spotlight. And not just for what he did on the pitch. Moyes decided to speak out about the way football managers are being treated, and his words drew attention. He spoke about respect, about dignity, and made some bold comparisons. He said that if professionals in other fields were dismissed the way football managers are, there would be an uproar. In other words, he criticized the cold and impersonal way in which clubs, and especially West Ham, handle the sacking of managers. But it didn't take long for the topic to explode. Simon Jordan, former Crystal Palace chairman and now a football pundit, reacted immediately. And as usual, Jordan didn't hold back. He hit back hard at Moyes, saying that you can't compare the suffering of a millionaire manager to that of an ordinary worker. According to him, managers like Moyes live in another world, one full of privileges, million-pound contracts, and compensation deals that normal people could never dream of. Jordan went straight to the point. He said football is a business, and anyone who gets into it knows exactly what they're signing up for. To him, there's no such thing as disrespect when a club decides to change its manager. There's only consequence for performance. The argument is simple. If the team doesn't deliver, the manager goes, and usually he leaves with a hefty sum in his pocket. But deep down, Jordan's words carry a provocative tone. He suggests that Moyes' comments come from an old grudge, that the Scot still hasn't swallowed the way he left West Ham, even after winning a European trophy and leading strong campaigns. It's as if he's still trying to digest the fact that in modern football, gratitude doesn't last long. And for many fans, there's some truth in that. Moyes has always divided opinion. Some defended him to the end, others wanted change long ago. His more pragmatic defensive style didn't please everyone, but no one can deny that he brought stability to the club in tough times. And seeing someone who gave so much being dismissed so coldly really leaves a bitter taste. What Jordan ignores, though, is the human side of the story. Yes, football is a business, but it's also passion. It involves people, memories, and bonds. And that's why many fans, especially the older ones, still relate to Moyes' words, because they touch a sensitive nerve, the lack of respect modern football shows towards those who build something long-term. In the old days, a manager had time. He could make mistakes, adjust, start again. Today, one slip-up is enough to be replaced. The pressure from the media, social networks, and money creates an environment where no one can breathe. And that's what Moyes is trying to call out. A football world that's become a cold machine where even victories have an expiry date. Jordan, on the other hand, speaks for the immediate results generation, the one that sees football as a spreadsheet, as a financial asset. And in that world, emotion is weakness. What matters is the next game, the next deal, the next profit. And West Ham once again finds itself at the center of this clash between old and new football. On one side, the memory of a manager who brought stability and a European trophy that will forever be part of the club's history. On the other, the coldness of a market that never looks back, only at the scoreline of the next match. In the end, this exchange of jabs reveals a gap between two worlds, the world of those who still believe in loyalty and the world of those who only see performance. Moyes, with all his flaws, represents the first. Jordan, with his business-driven mindset, represents the second. And we, the fans, are caught in the middle, torn between heart and reason, between memory and the present. Because that's what West Ham is, a club walking the tightrope between tradition and the future, between emotion and pragmatism. And maybe that's why Moyes' name still sparks so much debate. He symbolizes an era when football still felt human. And in a time when everything has turned into numbers and contracts, maybe that humanity is exactly what's missing. Before we carry on, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. This is really important because it strengthens the Claret and Blue family, making our West Ham bigger and stronger every day. West Ham fans, this is a serious one. The club could be heading towards another contractual issue in the academy, and the name in question is George Earthy, one of the most promising talents to come out of the academy in recent years. Earthy, who grew up supporting West Ham and has always been seen as one of the club's homegrown gems, is under contract until June 2026. It might sound far off, but in modern football, that's just around the corner. And the concern is growing because so far he hasn't signed an extension. The youngster representing the new generation of talents developed at Chadwell Heath is being closely followed by Mark Noble, a club legend and now a kind of mentor for the youth players. Noble has been working to keep Earthy motivated and connected to West Ham's long-term project, but the situation is becoming tricky. Behind the scenes, it's said that George Earthy earns around £15,000 per week, rising to about $18,700 with bonuses. It's a solid wage for his age, but still short of what the player and his representatives believe matches his potential. And that's where the danger lies. West Ham has already lived through a similar saga with Divan Mubama, another academy product who delayed his renewal and ended up leaving the club amid frustration from the fans. Earthy is represented by the agency CAA Base, one of the most influential in the business, and so far no pen has touched paper. Meanwhile, other clubs are watching closely. Wrexham tried to sign him during the last transfer window, but the player turned them down to keep fighting for his place at the club he loves. There was also interest from sides like West Bromwich, Middlesbrough, Norwich, and Bristol City, where he's shown on loan scoring 3 goals last season. But what looked like a promising year has turned into a new challenge. The midfielder picked up a muscle injury in his very first training session under Nuno Espirito Santo, a hamstring problem that will keep him out for up to 10 weeks. And this comes right after he had already missed the entire preseason due to an ankle injury. In other words, 2 back-to-back injuries at a decisive stage of his career. That naturally raises a question. Will West Ham remain as keen to offer a bigger contract to a player who's still struggling to stay fit? For fans, it's a frustrating situation. Watching a talented homegrown lad get tangled in another contract standoff feels like déjà vu. The club needs to learn from the past, to value its prospects before others do. Earthy has quality vision and a deep love for the club. But he's also ambitious, and that's only natural. The next few months will be crucial. The midfielder will need to recover, well show he's ready, and convince Nuno Espirito Santo that he can be part of West Ham's future. The Portuguese coach values discipline and intensity, and if Earthy manages to impress him, a renewal should follow naturally. For now, his future lies in his own hands, and in a way in the treatment room. Every week out is a lost opportunity, and every successful return is a step closer to the stability fans are hoping to see. West Ham needs to look at George Earthy, not just as an asset, but as a symbol of what has always set the club apart. The ability to develop players who truly understand what it means to wear the shirt. People who feel the weight, the pride, and the history of the club. Because in the end, this isn't just about numbers, bonuses, or contracts. It's about continuity, about identity, about ensuring that West Ham's future continues to be shaped by players who were born and raised dreaming of the London Stadium. If the club can sort this quickly, it will show maturity and planning. But if they let this saga drag on, they risk losing another talent who carries the DNA of West Ham. And for a club with one of the most traditional academies in England, that would be a hard mistake to justify. West Ham fans, things are getting heavy in London. The season keeps stumbling over old problems, and the biggest one is clear goals. There's a lack of goals, a lack of confidence, a lack of that spark that can change the course of a match. The team shows flashes of organization under Nuno Espirito Santo, but once they reach the final third, it's as if the energy drains away. The 2-0 defeat to Arsenal made that even clearer. The team fought, battled, but never truly threatened. It was another frustrating afternoon, another match where West Ham seemed to be fighting against itself. Nuno is only just starting his work, but he already knows he must act fast. The attack has become his top priority. Jared Bowen remains the beating heart of the attack, the only one who genuinely looks ready to make something happen. But the weight on his shoulders is huge. Callum Wilson, who arrived as a beacon of hope, hasn't yet proved to be the answer. And without Antonio, the center forward who even with limitations always cause problems, the team has lost its reference point. There's no presence, no instinct, no player who really scares defenders. And in that context, fans were caught by surprise. West Ham have reportedly made contact with Real Madrid to discuss a move that borders on the improbable. Endrick, the 19-year-old Brazilian, considered one of the brightest young talents on the planet. The news came from the Spanish site Fichajes, and the idea sounds like something out of a dream. The London club supposedly made an inquiry to see if there's any chance, however small, of bringing the youngster in. Of course the odds are slim. Endrick is valued at around £30 million, and Real Madrid see him as an important part of their future. But the very fact that West Ham are trying shows a change in attitude. For years, the club has been accused of being complacent, of thinking small, of preferring safe bets over bold moves. But now under Nuno Espirito Santo, there's a new spirit in the air. The Portuguese coach seems determined to transform the team, not just on the pitch, but in its mindset. And that's why the name Endrick makes so much sense. He represents everything West Ham currently lack: youth, explosiveness, unpredictability, and hunger. A player who takes on defenders, who doesn't hide, who brings joy to the game. Exactly the kind of energy the team needs to break free from its slump. Nuno knows it. And he also knows that football isn't just tactics. It's emotion, confidence, chemistry between players. A kid like Endrick could change the atmosphere in the dressing room completely. He could bring back that enthusiasm the fans have been missing since the team began to fall apart in recent months. The league table tells a worrying story. West Ham sits second from bottom in the Premier League, and the pressure is written all over the players' faces. The team plays tense, restricted, afraid to make mistakes. And when fear steps onto the pitch, football disappears. It's in moments like this that a new face can make all the difference. Not just through talent, but through what he represents. A young player full of energy, untouched by past failures, bringing exactly what West Ham need most right now: a new narrative. Imagine the impact of seeing a youngster from Real Madrid pulling on the claret and blue shirt. It would be more than a signing. It would be a statement. A clear message that the club truly wants to compete, that it refuses to settle for being a supporting act. And even if the deal never happens, the simple act of trying is powerful in itself. It shows ambition. It shows that West Ham want more, that the club is willing to take risks, challenge the impossible, and aim high. Because deep down, that's what has always defined West Ham supporters: the courage to dream. Even in tough times, even when all seemed lost, the fans have always believed the club could rise again. And that's the flame West Ham need to reignite now. Endrick, with his talent, would be the perfect symbol of that rebirth. A modern, skillful, confident player who plays with joy, something the team has lost. He's the type who inspires others, lifts the crowd, and changes the dressing room mood. Nuno Espirito Santo, known for valuing players with strong mentalities, knows how important that is. He wants to turn West Ham into a side that plays with soul, that presses, that believes. And for that, he needs protagonists. And if the Brazilian does arrive, even for a short spell, he could be the first step in that rebuild, a sign that the club has rediscovered its ambition. That it wants to rise again, not just with words, but with actions. Football is full of surprises. Who would have thought we'd one day see West Ham trying to negotiate with Real Madrid for one of the world's most valuable young players? But it's exactly that kind of boldness the fans want to see. Because fans don't live off spreadsheets either, they live off emotion. And right now, any spark of hope is welcome. Even if the deal never materializes, the message is clear: West Ham want to be great again. They want to make their supporters proud. And who knows? Maybe one day when we look back, this bold move will be remembered as the turning point. The moment the club stopped hiding behind fear and started dreaming again, like the real West Ham always did, with courage, passion, and faith in the impossible. And that's all for today's West Ham news. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with fellow fans, and of course subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Come on, you Irons!